So now we're on our noun-specific tools of emphasis. And again, even though we say tools, there's actually just one.
Okay.
And so this time we're going to be looking at the be of emphasis. So here are the two rules for the be of emphasis. One is that it only appears in is sentences. And remember we said that the be is the noun-specific tool of emphasis.
So it's only going to happen before a noun.
Before a noun, right? And is sentences don't have any actions, right?
Uh-huh.
They contain nouns, so it's going to only appear in is sentences, and specifically is sentences that begin with ma or laysa. And we know what ma means. It's a
negation word.
It's a negation word. And we haven't studied laysa yet, but this is also a negation word.
Okay.
Just like ma. So rule number 1, the ba of emphasis is only going to appear in is sentences that begin with a negation word. So ma or laysa.
So would it appear in a sentence that has la, because la is another negation word?
No, specifically only ma or laysa.
Okay.
And then the second rule is it'll only appear on the after is. So you'll never see it on the before is. It'll always be on the after is. So let's look at some examples of that. Here we have وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. So our first condition is met. It starts with a ma, right? So it's negated. And then hum bimu'minin, our break goes between these two words, and that's where the is goes, meaning the ba is appearing on the after is. So those are our two rules. And then how does the emphasis translate? Here we have it translating as at all.
Okay.
They are not at all believers.
All right. So without the ba, without the emphasis, it would just be they are not believers.
Exactly. They are not believers, but since we added the ba of emphasis, translates as they are not at all believers.
Or they're not believers at all. So it's like emphasizing the negation.
It is, right?
Okay.
When you have emphasis in a negative sentence, then you're emphasizing the negation, basically. Okay. Let's look at another example here. We have laysa bikharijin minha. So it starts with laysa, which is a negation tool. So first condition is met. And then our break goes here between laysa and bikharijin, meaning that's where the is goes. And then the ba of emphasis appears on the after is.
Okay.
And then we have in our translation, he is certainly not emerging from it. Right, so here it just translates most naturally as certainly.
So, but you're still emphasizing the negation.
Yeah, we still have emphasis in a negative sentence.
Can you emphasize it like, oh, he's never emerging from it, or?
Yeah, you could. Or you could say not at all emerging.
Okay.
Whatever sounds most natural in English. So are we clear on our two conditions? Has to be in a negated sentence, and then it appears on the after is.
Okay, so specifically a negated sentence with ma or laysa.
Ma or laysa.
Not another kind of negation.
Not any other kind of negation.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about laysa. So we'd seen ma before.
Yeah.
But laysa is a new one. Laysa is a bit of a weird little thing because laysa actually conjugates like an action. And it can have an outside doer.
What?
So laysa behaves like an action.
What does that mean?
So do you remember conjugation? We talked about conjugation, how the action can change. You know how there's a chart for each action?
Yeah.
It can change when you have an inside pronoun.
Right.
Right, so for example, laysa for huwa, laysu for hum, like that. Laysat for hiya. Get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So conjugation means that the action changes.
So it can get like the past tense ending indicators.
Ending indicators. So it changes like an action.
Okay.
Right? So it can have an inside doer, right? Like laysa, laysu, laysat. Or it can have an outside doer, just like a normal action.
Oh, and the outside doer will have like the doer label and stuff?
Yep. You'll have the doer label. So basically, it behaves like an action. Laysa behaves like an action. That's the simple way of putting it. But it translates as is not. So it kind of sounds like an is sentence, and that's why it's a bit weird.
Okay. So laysa is basically it's an action.
It is an
acts
action.
like one. But in terms of its translation, in terms of its meaning, it has an is in its meaning.
Exactly. So it's like a paradox.
So it's like that's why it's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it behaves like an action, but it translates like a is sentence.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah.
And so how do we deal with laysa when we see it? We'll translate it like an action sentence since it behaves like an action. So you'll start with your doer, and then you'll translate the action, which the action in this case translates as is not. So basically doer is not. That's how we'll translate laysa. Doer is not.
Oh.
And then doer can either be inside or outside. Get it?
Okay. But we still have we can have the emphasizer ba in the laysa sentences still.
Yeah.
But it'll only be attached to a noun still.
It will only be attached to a noun, not to the laysa itself. So let's look at some examples here. وقالت النصارى ليست اليهود على شيء. So here's our laysa. So the Christians said layset. For one thing, we see it conjugating. Right. We have the at ending indicator. And then we have al-yahudu, a word following it with a u label, meaning it has a doer.
Okay.
And so how are we translating it? Remember we said we translate doer and then the action. So the doer here is al-yahudu, meaning the Jews. So we start by translating our doer. And then we translate our action, which in this case is the is not.
Okay.
So the Jews are not upon anything.
Okay.
Does it make sense? So doer and then action.
Okay.
And then any other element that you find in the sentence.
Okay.
You sound confused. Are we clear?
It's a little bit strange. So, okay. Laysa. So, like, looking at it, in terms of labeling, we label like an action sentence. But in terms of translation, it's going to have an is.
Yeah, so that's a good summary. Label like action. And then translate like is, kind of.
Okay, so the al-yahudu is doer because it has the u label. So we start with that. The Jews, and then the action are not upon anything.
Upon anything.
Okay.
Let's look at another example. Might help. So laysu sawa'an. We have laysu, right? This is laysa with the ending indicator u.
Okay.
Which tells us what's the embedded doer.
They.
And then so we start with our doer, right? They. And then we translate our action. We translate the action, which laysa translates as is not or are not.
Okay.
So we started with our doer, then we translate our action. They are not. And then sawa'an means the same.
Okay.
That's it. So they are not the same.
Okay.
So laysa looks like an action.
Acts like an action.
Acts like an action, right? It can have embedded doers and outside doers, but it translates as is not or are not.
Okay.
And then when we see laysa in translation, we'll start with the doer, whether it's embedded or outside, and then we'll translate the is not or the are not.
I have a question about laysa is conjugations.
Okay.
Will we ever have like the present tense version?
No. Laysa is always past.
So laysa will only ever get the past tense ending indicators.
Yeah.
Okay.
Laysa is always appears in the past tense. Always.
Okay.
Okay. And then one last thing to wrap up the lesson. A caution here, not to confuse the emphasis ba with the TLDR ba.
Okay.
And so here's your tip. So if you see a ba in a sentence negated with ma or laysa, and then it doesn't seem to be translating well,
like
chances are it's an emphasizer as a TLDR.
So it won't translate as with or because of. Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't catch it, the danger here is that you'll miss it, right? Because we're so used to seeing the TLDR ba.
Yeah, and it doesn't look any different than the TLD, like it
except
attaches,
for the fact that it's in a ma or laysa sentence.
But even like the way it looks, like it attaches straight to the word, just like a TLDR.
Yeah.
It has it's a B specifically. Yep. It looks exactly the same.
It looks exactly like a TLDR, and the only differentiating factor is the ma or laysa.
Okay.
Right, and so if you kind of happen to miss the fact that the sentence is starting with a ma or laysa, and then you end up arriving in that translation, and it doesn't seem to be translating as with, the translation we know for the TLDR ba, then that means you probably missed your emphasizer.
Okay.
Okay. Are we clear on today's lesson? A bit of a weird one.
So we have one noun specific tool of negation, and that's be.
That's be. And what are the rules of be?
It has to appear in a negated sentence, specifically negated with ma or laysa.
Negated is sentence particularly.
Okay. And then it will only appear on the after is.
Right.
And it emphasizes the negation.
It emphasizes the negation. And then what did we learn about Leisa?
Leisa is a weirdo because it looks like an action and acts like an action, and so it will have like a doer and all that. Mm-hmm. But then its translation has an is in it,
right?
So it sounds like an is sentence in translation,
right? And then how do we approach the translation when we work through it? We start with the
with Leisa. You start with the doer action, just like you do with a normal
doer, then the action sentence, and then the action in this case is not or are not. Okay, and then the last caution was not to confuse it with the TLDR.
Okay.